All right, welcome everybody to today's episode of Incubator Weekly. This is probably the most packed show that we've had in a little while. I've got today with me Anthony, Cryptotura, aka Vijay, and Mikhail. How's it going, guys?
The Dev Extravaganza.
Right, yeah, all developers here. So today we have a lot to talk about. We'll jump right in. I will give my normal little preamble here. I'm going to try to keep this between 50 minutes and an hour. I don't think we're going to get any less than 50 minutes. But we do have an important Twitter space that I'm planning to join, either as just a listener or hopefully a speaker. But I haven't had an invite to be a speaker, but I would be.
Why is it so important? What's happening?
Well, it's important to me. It's not going to be important to everybody, but it's just a weekly thing that Joel has started that combines a lot of different communities, the Litecoin community and several other communities like digital cash focused coins. And we talk about important topics. So last week was a really good show. We had a heavy lineup of speakers Joel put together. Really interesting discussion. We had, I think, 20,000 people that came to view the space. And this week, the topic is stable coins. And so, that does kind of affect development as well. So it's not just just marketing and discussion. So I want to join that conversation. I might be a little bit late to that, but yeah. So either way, we'll all say what we want to say on this show. Each of us have proposals on the network right now, and each of us have been doing work in the past to, either from past proposals or from hopeful coming up proposals to pass. So I'm going to pass it over to, we're going to start with Anthony. You're going to talk about what you've been up to, what your proposal's about. Then we'll go with you, Vijay, and then we'll go with you, Mikhail, talk about your proposals, particularly the SDK work is what I would like to discuss with you. And then I'll have some closing thoughts about how different scenarios about voting and whatnot that I foresee. Okay, so Anthony, let's see.
Yeah, you can go ahead and
screen share going. Oops, that's my screen share. That's what I'm going to be talking about. So let's see where yours is, Anthony. Here we go.
Let me know when's up.
Okay, I guess I got to remove mine. That's interesting. There we go. Is this you? Yeah, this is you. Okay.
Yeah, cool. Sweet. So this is my proposal. I'm building an app called Auto Show. It came very close to passing last month. Votes are a bit down since then, but I'm still kind of on the precipice. So it would be really nice if it were to pass, but I understand that we're kind of in a tight monetary situation right now in the Dash community. But yeah, I'm going to show off just a little bit of what I got going. I'm going to kick this off while I explain because this first step takes a while. So Auto Show is a content repurposing app that lets you take video and audio files and transcribe them and then use cutting edge LLM AI technology to do things like create chapter titles, summaries, blog posts. You can even write songs. So the plan was to kind of use Dash as the payments and authentication layer. And the integration is like 99% done. Right now it's running on testnet. So what you're seeing here is kind of using Play Dash money, but it's everything that needs to be there to actually ship this to prod is basically there. So because this is on testnet, this first step takes a long time, but basically right now what it's doing is it's going to let you know how many credits you have in your wallet, which is just like a unit of measurement for the app, because there's 2 steps with the app that requires credits. There's picking your transcription service, And then there's picking your LLM service, because if you're someone who is into the whole, AI thing right now, maybe you're using ChatGPT, maybe you're using Claude, maybe you're using Gemini. This is a multi-model app, so it lets you do a little bit of everything. So you see here right now, it kind of tells you what your balance is in Duffs, which is always confusing to me, because there are all sorts of calculations that go into figuring out what a Duff or a Satoshi or a Dash is. And then it
Or
tells
credit.
or a credit. Yeah. So the term credit in this app is not related to a credit in Dash app, which is another thing that's kind of a little confusing, but we can kind of blaze all past that. So right now, this is kind of how many credits we've got. And then
auto show credits.
Yeah, auto show credits. Yeah. And then you can give a file on your computer or a YouTube URL. Once you do that, it gives you your different transcription options. The main ones are deepgram, assembly, and then whisper through Grok. Now, right now, because it's still on testnet, there's just an extra step where you give your API key, but this step will not exist once you're actually using the full-on Dash part. So then you get your transcript right here, and you select your prompts. So this is what you can generate with your LLMs. So you can create, titles if it's like just a raw kind of, video you created and you don't even have like a title for it yet. You can have different length summaries, different length chapters, things like key takeaways. You could even do like questions if you want to create educational material based on it. So we'll just do a summary and a country song.
And just in case people missed it, you uploaded a video, so it processed that video, or it is processing that video, and then spitting out through the AI these different things that you're asking it to spit out.
Yeah, exactly. So it showed the transcript, which I went to the next step, so you don't see the transcript anymore. But the transcript was based on the video I gave it, which is just like a couple minute kind of podcast that I had recorded from FS Jam. And then it gives you all of your different AI options. I'm going to use DeepSeek just because it's the cheapest, so it's good for demos. And then because I selected a summary and a country song, what it does is it then takes the transcript and it takes custom written prompts that I've written that go along with the prompts that we selected earlier. And then it feeds both of those to the LLM and then gives you back. And if you see here, we have it tells you the exact amount of credits you need for each of them. So if you're using a more expensive model, like ChatGPT 4.5 is 300 credits, but if you're using O1 Mini, it's only 10 credits. And then this is like just a kind of JSON output of what's being written to your database. But really what we want to see is this. So we got our summary, discussion between hosts about JavaScript and FS Jam frameworks, reflections on 2020, and then there is your song. So yeah, so pretty simple app. The idea when I built this is I really wanted it to be friendly to non-technical people. This was originally like a CLI that I had created, but I wanted just a very simple drag and drop, click kind of thing. So anyone can use this regardless of technical ability, and they kind of get all of the benefits of modern LLMs, even if they don't know, what are the best models or how to write a prompt. They just have to kind of drop their video in, click what they want, and then they get it back. So the only thing that really needs to be changed here for actually production is have be it on prod instead of testnet. And then when you do the final step, it will subtract those credits from your account and then send it to, the auto show Dash account. So like I said, it's like 99% complete in terms of the integration, just a couple more lines of code that would need to be changed to make it actually ready to send to prod. So yeah, that's the whole demo. Pretty simple.
That's awesome. You've come a long way, obviously, on this since the last time that we discussed it. You've got a UI now, and I didn't really expect the Dash integration to be as far as it already is. So I mean, that just kind of shows how committed you are to making that work and putting in the time and work even before you're funded. So that's
Yeah, and I know how the Dash SDK works because I did a whole bunch of tutorials with it already. So it was pretty simple actually integration. For me, someone who was coming in totally cold would have to actually like go through the docs and learn all the terminology and figure out how the SDK works. But I was pretty much ready to hit the ground running when I wrote the proposal. So I wanted to pretty much get it as close to the finish line as possible.
Yeah. The key thing there being that you've had a lot of experience with the SDK. And so
totally.
you kind of know how it works.
And I'm a fan of it. I've always said it's a little slow, but aside from that, I actually think it's a pretty good SDK.
All right, so Vijay, let's unless anybody has any questions, it looks like we got a couple comments here from Owl. How's it going? I haven't read this yet, so hopefully it's...
So this was using the SDK, and it is running on the web. So what you saw is the SDK on the web, the JavaScript SDK. So,
yep. Okay, and there will be plenty more talk about the SDK stuff later after Vijay. So do you have a screen share for us, Vijay, that you wanted to present?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't see it. Does anybody else?
I'm bringing it up.
Okay.
Is it visible?
Yeah, we can see it now. And I'll just, as a quick preamble, you've been working hard on Bitcoin backports for. You had a 6-month proposal, and
yes, yeah.
One or two of those proposals passed, but
only one actually.
One passed, but you've been working for several months without any funding for that. So that's the context behind this, in case you were planning on saying that. I've seen the PRs coming through and getting merged and things like that. So yeah, go ahead and give us your presentation. And
my name is Vijay, and I'm also known as Crypto Tura in the Dash community. I've been working with, contributing to backporting pull requests since 2021. Focusing primarily on backporting improvements from Bitcoin core into Dash. And so most recently from last funding, that only funding I got in January, after that I have done this 9 pull requests, and I can, so these changes are all make the code faster and fix bugs and remove things. Technical debts are removed and fixes in the tests. We can discuss like each. I can talk about each PR. For example, the 6308 in this this wallet tests has been corrected, fixed, and a couple of refactors which CI wallet tool fixing. It improves it brings test accuracy and long-term code maintainability. And so if we can see in the detail, this 6308, I have merged 2372 and 2346. So this fixes this test and runs only if a specified wallet type is available. And another is improved headers for Bitcoin wallet tool. So this brings test accuracy, and long-term code maintainability. So this is fixed. Similarly, for 6534, I have removed that redundant logic in the wallet spend tracking for better performance, and clean up unused and outdated network functions. So this is to improve efficiency and reduces tech debt in wallet and networking code. Similarly, the third PR, this is this changes test clarity by making mini wallet mode explicit. So they and improve build portability and configurations. via standardized variables. So this benefits is to cleaner test and more robust cross-platform builds. Similarly, 6519, this pull request, this has this uh, integer overflow issue 6519, uh, 6519, this signed integer overflow and prioritized transaction RPC. So I have backported this one, and so this is a potentially dangerous signed integer overflow. So this is an important fix. And then there was time logic with safer alternative, cleans out legacy and MSVC warning. So this increases correctness, security, and code maintainability. The importance of this. And similarly, for 6550 clarifies wallet behavior through better documentation. So this and test reliability for test reliability I have fixed here. So the CI/CD pipeline fixing. And 6552 for this is for wallet performance and modularity. This is optimizing wallet IO by avoiding redundant DB reads. Enforces make dust testing more realistic. Enforces better encapsulation in the address book. 6619 deadlock via recursive lock prevention. Fuzzing by updating data providers. Fixing wallet backup discovery. This is for stability, test effectiveness, and backup safety. This is concurrency related data race. So this is thread safety issue which was brought via this pull request. Cleans up outdated mempools. So this is for thread safety. And similarly, this last one, 6624, is standardizing fuzzer structure for safety and clarity, remove boost dependency in testing, and modernizes old macros and path handling logic. This leads to cleaner and more portable and easier to maintain code. So all of these pull requests bring very important changes from which is already tested in Bitcoin code, which is for uh, reading from thread safety to this integer overflow protection and readability documentation, wallet updates. So these changes make the code faster and safer, and also overall this is very significant work which I'm trying to do from since very long time. I had a wonderful 2024 year, like I was working with Rion Mikhail. We had a very and then since I have been working so long for this, so I'm mm, trying to understand like network behavior. How they what when they accept, or how do they accept proposal. These are very, very important changes, and supporting this proposal is a very, very small investment, in fact, in this long-term stability and performance improvement of our Dash network. So I request the community to look into this. This is a very, very small, I think currently it is like around 1000 USD also. So my request for the network is to consider this. This is an important work that helps Dash stay up to date, secure, and easier to build on. This is a very important work, and I hope the community supports me this time. I have been consistently throughout doing this work, and I hope I get the support.
Yeah. So thank you for going through each of those. And I would also say, I don't think anybody doubts the importance of backporting Bitcoin. We are a fork of Bitcoin, and we maintain upstream compatibility with that, other than the features that are unique to Dash. And so this is a constant process that that everybody thinks is, so long as we are going to maintain being a fork of Bitcoin, we have to stay in sync with Bitcoin. Be a Dash core group does a lot of this work. You were working through the incubator to do some of the other some of the ones that either they weren't doing, or I'm not exactly sure what the process was, or how you determine which backports you decide to do versus which backports DCG decides to do. But I would say that, and just in case I forget to say it later, I meant to say that because you've been working so long, and because you've had a history of working in the incubator, and we were paying you through the incubator at that point, but you've been doing it for several months without pay. If your proposal doesn't pass and my proposal does pass, I do plan on reimbursing you or compensating you for at least 1 month's worth. So like, I will say that because I personally find it valuable, even though, that would, I want proposal owners to be independent. Like, that's one of my main goals in the incubator, is to get people with their own independent proposals so that we get network feedback. So I understand there's a balance to be made, whereas if the network rejects your proposal and says, for whatever reason, we don't think that the juice is worth the squeeze, whether it's too high of an ask, or the quality of the work isn't, up to what the network wanted, or it's just a matter of priorities, which is, I think, the most likely case, that it's just been a matter of priorities. I think that's a tricky place for me to say, I'm going to override the network's vote and pay you anyway from what ultimately is the network's money. But I think that most people would agree that if it's just a matter of priorities, I would be happy to kick in some of that funding if my proposal passes and yours doesn't, by whatever chance. So it depends on how the MNOs, how the masternode owners decide to do their Tetris work this month, of what room is available. So thank you for your work, regardless of the outcome, Vijay, and let's, I guess, move on to Mikhail.
Good stuff, and also props for using Notepad.
Yeah, that's OG right there.
Hey guys. Yeah, I want to show you what we've been doing last month, and the progress in SDKs. So last month we were focused on the depth examples and the SDK around it. There was quite huge work in testing different scheme, different approaches. How can we do that? And we basically bootstrapped a new tool set. So basically a lightweight SDK, which a little bit different from our original JS SDK, which contains a wallet and other stuff like core chain, for example. What we've done just a lightweight Dash platform SDK, which runs straight right away. You don't need to sync anything, it works straight right away. Let me share my screen. I will show you some stuff.
Okay. I'll put it on as soon as I see it.
Mm-hmm. The first thing that we've done, we basically rewritten the DPP. So it works. It works by acquiring the DAPI endpoints and then deserializing the responses, and so basically kind of similar to what the current Dash SDK is doing. So our problem was with the original wasm DPP package, which is the DCG one. There were multiple things that were blocking our work. First, it was missing some features that we were desperately trying to implement, and the code base is like pretty much pretty heavy and pretty. So yeah, I've been spending a lot of time in trying to add some features. Then I was passing to, then it was going to the review, and then on the review, basically, so it was kind of hard for us to implement all of the missing features that we need, and there were also a lot of internal bugs and architecture flaws, which prevented it from using in the production environment, in the JS production environment. As an example, there is a issue called it basically doesn't work in production bundles, because when you minify the bindings, it minifies the class names, and then it just cannot work because it has different name, but in the code for some reason it tries to read. Let me show you. Yeah, basically it's somewhere here. Yeah, this one. So it basically expects some certain class name and stuff like that. So yeah, and it was pretty hard to understand what is going on there. And yeah, basically it went, what we've done, we just took all of the things from our Rust DPP and implemented a new very flexible Rust wasm DPP, which is pretty lightweight. So last time I checked the wasm DPP, it was its size was like 10 megabytes or maybe 12 megabytes. We managed to reduce it to the 2 or 3 megabytes, which is kind of acceptable for the web. Yeah, and
I have a question about the the examples that you were giving and what's kind of necessitating this need in your mind, because as we've seen, Anthony's got an app right here that that was using the existing JavaScript SDK, and it works for what he was needing. Now, nobody's used the JavaScript SDK more than you, Mikhail. So how it's working, what the corner cases are and what the edge cases are that may not be working. You said in production bundles, Webpack production bundles, it wasn't working. Was that for React
platform.
native or?
No, it's for the regular browser.
Regular browser. And what specifically wasn't working for you?
No DPP methods was working. I actually think even no queries was working. Yeah.
No queries were working.
Or maybe articulable queries. So this error, which I was showing, where it was, So it fails to set metadata, and metadata appears in every DAPI query. So I suppose it breaks on everything. So it breaks when you try to use platform features. It does work for the core, I believe, but I'm not sure. So yeah, when you minify it, it stops working.
Okay. Well, and I don't doubt you at all, because we've run into many problems, but we've also kind of, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So whatever's working for you, Anthony, I'm not sure how many platform features you're using at this point in your app.
I mean, for the auto show app, it's right now it's just grabbing the balance, but I mean, we did the tutorial where we use every single method, so I'm not really sure what Mikhail is talking about in terms of the metadata.
Did you use it in the Node environment, on the browser environment?
Node environment.
Yeah, in Node it works perfectly. Everything works perfectly.
So that's the thing. I just do it all on the server side, so that's why I've never really had issues, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, and that's why I wanted to clarify that, because the whole purpose behind, or at least in my mind, the whole purpose behind the JavaScript SDK is to be able to work on the client side in the web browser, not assuming, because we want people to be able to build applications that store and use data, store to and use data from platform, even if they're building a single page application without a server side. So that is a big deal. I've seen it working at some points throughout the history, even in the browser, purely single page application style. But through different versions, sometimes you'll get one feature added and then another feature breaks. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure that was what the issue was.
What we used to do is just make all bundles in development mode.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly.
Yeah, it's not the single bug or issue. Or it's currently a lot of things happening on the way. Yeah, so we basically done a new wasm layer, which not only have reduced size of web compatible, and it also have a feature that you can reduce bundle even more by stripping out all of the functionality you don't need. So you can partially, so everything is broken down into different modules, and you can build those separately and reduce your bundle if you don't use some kind of features. Yeah, so it works pretty great. It works. I tested it to work in many environment, in the Node.js environment, the web environment, even the React Native. But in the React Native, there is it's a kind of more complicated, and there are like more complicated environment. But I ensure that it is working.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a bit hacky right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I did next, I got this wasm DPP integrated into Dash Platform SDK. This is lightweight SDK, which basically allows you even loading it straight up into the web page, which is not allowed with the current Dash JS SDK. It basically not working. We've been in past we've been trying to accomplish that for like an hour and couldn't manage to do that. The reason is the current JS SDK misses some polyfills. It doesn't really gets bundled for the cross compatibility. Like, for example, the buffer is being used everywhere, which is not exists in the web. I have bundled it for every environment. You can use it in your regular front end, like in the React applications. You can use it in the Node.js, with the common JS syntax. And you can even load it straight to the web page, and it's basically gets available in the window environment, in the window object.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much very easy. You just supply some of the parameters, and then you can execute the queries. So how it works, it just have some predefined list of seed nodes. This is one that I'm spinning up, few DCGs, but yeah, when you're creating an SDK, it automatically fetches the list of master nodes from the AJ's digital cache RPC, and yeah, when you're creating an SDK, so basically, if it's possible, it fetches the recent addresses of the DAPI. If not, it just uses the static ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, currently I have implemented like the most simple things like data contract. Yeah, get data contract. It is possible to create a data contract. I just haven't got to this. I will edit pretty soon. You can create and get the document from the DAPI. You can retrieve information about identities like get balance, get identifier, get by identifier, get by public key hash, get all the nonces for your transactions, get identity public keys. Yeah, I didn't put the identity registration yet. And this is the thing that I'm thinking of, because this Dash platform SDK is designed to work with only platform. It doesn't have core functionality. So what we possibly could do, we could possibly create a separate function for creating an identity when you pass complete asset lock proof from the core chain. Because I don't want to put core functions into this platform SDK. But we will talk about this later, how it could be used.
Okay. Yeah.
So name search and some utility functions, like you can get the status of the master node, which retrieves your versions, the broadcast, wait for straight transition result, stuff like that, and some utilities. This is already can be used for making an applications. So it's working, it's cross-compatible, it weighs like 2 or 3 megabytes, I believe. Let's see actually how far it risen. Horizon. It's 3 megabytes right now, but yeah, we will try not to raise it even more. There are things to optimize. For example, yesterday Matt Peterson showed me another gRPC library which should reduce it even less. Anyway, it is already working, and it is already, you can do it for querying and submitting the documents. But so how does it work? With the regular JS SDK, you're just putting your seed phrase or private keys. Actually, seed phrase. I think you can only use seed phrase because, but it's with the current Dash platform SDK, you basically can sign your transactions with the private keys, which is bound to your identities. For example, each identity have some set of public keys which you can use to create the transactions, to sign the transactions in the network. Our SDK does not implement any wallet, so you don't have to provide a seed phrase to it. All you have to do is just provide a simple private key from your identity that can be shown, for example, in the DET, right? When you're, for example, things like this. It is currently responsibility of the developers who are using this SDK to handle those private keys. So anyway, the user have to insert the private key inside the dev application, and that's not really the best use case, because we want to make it as transparent for a user and secure as possible. So like in the Ethereum, we have MetaMask, which allows you to sign the transactions, so you can see what you are signing, and you don't necessarily put private keys into the web applications. So what I did next, basically, I bootstrapped, I sketched Dash platform extension. Dash platform extension. It works. Like it's kind of ugly right now. I know, but we will work on that. I'm just was hardly working on the functionality and how to connect all things together. So basically, how it's working, it's just like storage for your identity private keys. So you just put your private key inside the extension one time, and then you can use it on every page. Every page you're visiting, like you're visiting any Dash Dev application, it's just the SDK gets straight right available straight right away in the window object, and developers can use it. The same as MetaMask is working. So yeah. This is an example how to use it. So basically, with the you get the SDK from the window. For example, you want to send message. You get the SDK from the window object. Then you get all the parameters, and then you do some stuff, create a transition, and then you can invoke a signer, which basically opens the approved transaction dialog. Yeah, so it's a small extension. So when you open that, you can see like two buttons, import and register. Register right now is grayed out, but I will implement it later. When you click import, you can import the private key in hex or VIF format. What I wanted to do is to show you. So yeah, basically, it requires you to import your private key to get your private key. It's just supposed that you are registered your identity somewhere elsewhere, for example, in Dash Eva tool, and then you can just import the private key. Let's try and create a new identity. There is an option.
While you're doing that, what are your thoughts about why doesn't what are your thoughts about creating the identity in the extension itself?
Yeah, in the extension itself. Good. Yeah, let me show you actually how.
Nobody's going to want to download Dash Evo tool, like just normal users, right? Normal users aren't going to want to do that, right?
Yeah. Here is the mocks. Here's the mocks of my application that I sketched. So basically, how it could work. Right now, the most complicated part is in asset lock transactions, because you don't want to put your seed phrase in and any private keys. What you would like to do is to pay with your QR code through your Dash application, or redirect you to any other applications like Dashcore, Dash Electrum, but it's currently not possible. So it's not possible right now. We have an ability to pay by QR code, by the link, pay with link, but it's only for regular payments. You can't do specialized transactions right now. You can't do asset lock transactions. So for implementing a registration in the extension in decentralized way, without relying on any other services or stuff like that. So yeah, we have to have some kind of way to create specialized transactions from our wallets. So to make this work, the way I was thinking that we could do a centralized gateway which will help you registering your identity. So basically, it takes care of creating an asset lock transactions, which is providing you a collateral for registering your identity in the platform, but it don't share your identity private keys with this service. What it basically does, it shares a one-time private key with this service, which is basically allows you to send a regular Dash payment to some address, and then it creates an asset lock transaction. Then you can use it as a collateral in the platform register identity transaction. So it's kind of not like decentralized, but it's kind of way that we could make this work, registering inside the extension. Yeah. Is it clear for you, Ryan, how it's working?
Yeah, I think a lot of users are used to the idea of either generating or importing even a phrase, a seed phrase. So that's the whole idea behind extensions, is that you trust one extension, and then after you've trusted one extension wallet, then you don't have to trust any of the applications, because all of the wallet features are done in the extension, and the applications are just asking to sign things, or give the application permission to do various things without asking after that point. So that is the experience that most people have with decentralized applications. So I'm personally not opposed to the idea of generating or importing seed phrases into extensions. There are other ways to do this, things that I've talked with AJ about, for example, because even extensions are quite insecure when you get down to the details of things. But this is all about user experience.
Of course,
right?
of
So
course, yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
wants.
What personally, I don't like the idea of holding any like private keys or seed phrase either in the extension. I believe that should be delegated to the mobile app.
Right. So that's another option.
That's the option.
At the end of the day, you're going to have to trust some application, whether it's an extension, an application, a web application, a mobile application. At some point, the user has to trust some developer that built some application to hold the private keys. So I don't think anybody would dispute that. The only thing is, how do we minimize the trust, and how do we make sure that it's a good user experience so that users feel comfortable with the small amounts that they are using on web applications and through extensions. So,
okay, let me show you how it's working. So
Anthony,
basically,
you jumped in here. Did you have something to say?
No, just I agree that the Dash ecosystem in general is always like technically sharp, but the UX sometimes leaves a bit to be desired.
Right, and mostly because we don't have millions and millions of dollars of VC funding, but that's a separate issue.
Okay.
But go ahead and finish what you're demoing here.
Let's use the existing identity just to save some time. So I have already registered an identity today in the testnet. It's all in the testnet. We can see the keys, and what we want to do here is export the private key, which is in valid import format called VIF. Let's try to import that through our extension. We click check, and then it almost instantly gives your identity information. Here is the identifier, which is matches what we have in the DET, and we have actual balance. Here it is. We imported our identity. We can see the balance. We can see some grayed out button. Again, we can see some transactions that is related to this identity. For example, this is maybe identity creation. Anyway, yeah. So what happens when you visit the DEP application? This is the sample application that I just made for like a proof of concept. So what it does, it just gets a Dash Platform SDK from the window. It queries some documents from the data contract. If there is, it will show you. Yeah, and yeah, basically it creates a transaction. Let's try to do that. So once you click on the transaction, wait a second. Yeah, once you click on the create new transaction button, an approved transaction appears from the extension. Then you click sign. and it instantly gets broadcasted to the network. You can copy your transaction hash, close, and check. We can already see the transaction is in the network.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good demo that, I don't care how it looks at this point, right? Like getting the nuts and bolts working together where the extension is communicating with an application, which the application communicates with the SDK, and the SDK is a revised version that you've written of the SDK that Anthony's using in his application from DCG, for example. It seems like you've got the basics of all of those components working together, which is great. We've been able to do that with the old SDK. You've done it now with a newer SDK that has advantages over the older SDK. Unless you had something else to demo, I wanted to then transition the conversation to what I'm working on with Matt, and then a little bit of discussion about the proposals and how.
Yeah, I wanted to have a really quite small chat about the mobile applications. So what I did, I tested the Dash Platform SDK in the React Native, which is cross-platform mobile framework, which is being used by a lot of developers right now. It was. We were talking about that the private keys and identities should be held in some secure storages like mobile wallets. So that's what I was planning to also implement. So in the future version of the extensions, you could just delegate the storage of your identities into mobile applications. So what I did,
And by the mobile applications, it's always been my preference, and even Andy, like way back when Andy was running the incubator, he was very, very opinionated that everything should be contacting not just any old application or an extension even, but the actual Dash Pay from DCG application. So is that what you mean by mobile app? Do you mean that you should have the keys being stored in Dash Pay from DCG mobile app?
It would be really great to integrate it with the Dash Pay wallet. But I'm not sure what's the current resources and capabilities there in the mobile team and how fast it could be done. What I was thinking is to make a proof of concept. Another proof of concept, the mobile wallet, which can hold the identity storage that you can use with your extension. So just to prove that this kind of a communication works, because I believe that would require something. Totally will require something else. So
just to be clear about what you're suggesting here is you're saying that a decentralized web applications would, instead of communicating with an extension wallet to sign transactions on the user's behalf, it would communicate over platform through, and then a mobile application would be holding, a separate mobile app would be holding your keys to approve web application communications and transactions.
It will communicate. It will talk with the extension, but the extension will take care of connection with your mobile wallet.
Okay, so in your proof of concept here, you're still having an extension. I thought that you were suggesting doing away with the need for an extension and replacing that with a mobile application, which is something.
No. It's additional. So you could use just extension. You could import your private keys into extension, or you could use your mobile app. So just pop up your mobile app and just scan QR code or stuff like that. Like the same, like the Wallet Connect working, something similar.
Okay, and so do you have that to demo so that we can discuss?
No, not yet.
Okay.
No. Well, what I was managed to do is to test the Dash Platform SDK in the React Native environment, but there are some issues. But I wasn't able to do that. It just requires some more time to to do things. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to put my screen share on. I'll briefly talk about this. There's not a lot of time. We're already kind of later than I wanted to be, but that space is going to be fine. It takes a while to get started and they go for hours and hours. So I'm not going to let that get in the way here. But I just wanted to talk briefly about what Matt has been doing. Matt, unfortunately, has been quite sick for seems like a week or more. And so he wasn't able to join the call today. But he has been busy working. But however, between some priorities that he's had, some non-Dash priorities he's had, being sick and some other things, unfortunately, he hasn't been able to get to as much as I was hoping for in terms of his side of the SDK work is going. But I wanted to just show what he's done recently. Like he's doing his work in the let's see. This is -hive-plat. This is comparing his branch with the base -hive-platform.js branch, just to kind of show what he's been working on. Last year he was working a lot in March, and then he did some things in April as well. He's trying to get to the point where he can demo the creation of an identity, then using that identity to create a data contract, and then from that data contract creating a document. So here's the data contract. You also saw some generated stuff. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then, like I said, creating a document from that on top of that data contract. And you can also see there's some a built folder that's that has a lot of I assume generated files as well. So this is all. He's not to the point where he can demo all of those 3 steps. Like this is the main 3-step demo that we've been working towards: creating an identity, a data contract, and documents. We'll get there soon. However, the difference between this and what you are working on, Mikhail, is that I feel very strongly that we should have the most performant and lightweight and user-friendly SDK as we can have, because as opposed to somebody like Anthony, who has worked a lot with our existing SDK and has developed Stockholm syndrome and has loved his abuser, something like that. Most developers are not going to have that kind of patience or incentive to work through all the warts of the existing SDK. And everybody acknowledges that there's a lot of work to be done on the SDK. So I'm envisioning a future where, I'm aiming big, right? I'm aiming big. I'm aiming to a future where we can have an SDK that integrates with some of these front-end frameworks. And if the frameworks, after having spent years and years to get their frameworks themselves down to tens of kilobytes, if we're asking developers to add on megabytes of data just to get our stuff working, I think that that's too much to ask for the non-interested developers. So I'm trying to have an SDK that basically gives nobody an excuse other than, I just hate cryptocurrency, so I don't want to use that. But in terms of like size and user experience and performance, I want it to be as good as possible. And so the way that I see us doing that is writing it in pure JavaScript, but that's a library that's auto-generated directly from the single source of truth, which is the Rust Dash platform protocol and the Rust code base in general. And so what you're doing, Mikhail, I'll just switch to the discussion screen again. What you're doing is you're kind of fine-tuning the existing Dash platform protocol and still using WASM bindings. And I see a future where like that might be the first step, right? And you've said that you've gotten some gains where you've taken it from 10 megabytes down to 2 megabytes. It's faster, but I'm shooting for a future where we're dealing with hundreds of milliseconds of time rather than seconds, and we're dealing with kilobytes of size rather than megabytes of size, and where everything, the whole SDK is completely type safe, where developers can just say dash dot and then they have all of the auto completed methods and everything like that. That's extremely important, so that people don't have to deal with documentation. Everything that Matt has done to this point is toward that future where we have fully type safe SDK that shows everything and is very debuggable, because you're never going to run into a black box where it says, oh, this is WASM code base. So that's the future where I'm headed. Now, Mikhail, any thoughts on that so far?
I agree with you. I agree with you that we should have so-called JS DPP that will be lightweight and work fast and cross-compatible between environments like with React Native, for example, which I have problems with.
Anytime where you introduce WASM, you're going to run into an edge case, like whether it's some kind of cloud function. I remember the first time that I as a developer with my developer hat on, I tried to use the Dash SDK, and I tried to use it in a Lambda function on AWS, and it just did not like it, right? Because part of that is WASM, and part of it is just how WASM is built and everything. It's different. It's not working on certain architectures that AWS is running. So there's just going to be edge cases anytime where you introduce WASM, even if it's not a performance issue, even if it's not a size issue, it's going to be a debugging and developer experience issue at some point with certain architectures, where if it's pure JavaScript, this is what people have spent decades. Everything supports JavaScript these days, but not everything supports Rust and WASM. So that's my opinion. I think that we can get there. I think that we're actually very close to being there. We just unfortunately didn't get, between Matt's conflicts and being sick, we just didn't get to that demo this month. But I do think that between you working on higher level APIs and just working with higher level APIs, and with Matt working on the lower level stuff, that he can do that low level. Anything that you throw at him, he knows the Rust, he knows tooling, he knows TypeScript. Matt can do almost anything that I throw at him, as long as he has enough time and has the priority to do it and the incentives, financial being one of those. He can do it. So between you guys working together, continuing to work together, I think that that's a definite possibility. Now, did you have anything else to say to that? Because I'm going to jump now to the...
Yeah, I wanted to say that I agree with you. Yeah, I would really love to see JS DPP, and as soon as we have some examples or some working stuff, I would like to try it in our SDK, and eventually, I think we will switch over to JS DPP. That's our it's possible. It's possible to flip it. It was designed in the way that we can switch the library of serialization to serialization.
Oh, good. Yeah, because that's what I was worried about a little bit. When I first saw your proposal, I was a little worried because, I don't
Yeah, we just
build on the WASM foundation any
course.
longer than we have to. But I understand also that you want to move fast and you want to have an SDK with a good API as fast as possible. I just want it to be built on the foundation of JS DPP rather than WASM DPP or any kind of modifications to that, optimizations to that. Now, I understand you want to move fast. So
Yeah.
there's not, yeah, this is the hard part of the conversation. There's no way, there's no scenario where everybody's going to get what they want this month in terms of funding and being able to continue developing toward this future. But I did want to sketch out some scenarios that the MNOs can use in their decision making with the last 3 days of voting here, just so that you have an informed decision. So, Mikhail, before we jump into that, did you have anything else to say about technical things before I get into the politics of Treasury Thunderdomes?
I think I'm good. I think I'm good.
Okay, feel free to just share.
Yeah,
Thunderdome. Okay, let's see. Okay, so here's how the Treasury looks. I'll bump up the font a little bit. Here's how the Treasury looks right now. There's, like you can see, 3 days left of voting. I don't know if CrowdNode's voted or not by now. Let's just refresh and see if there's a new update. Yeah, 2.96 days available. When you go to and you click on that advanced, you can see like the recent votes coming in. It looks like CrowdNode was not. Like you can tell when CrowdNode votes because it looks like there's a lot of votes that come in. So that hasn't come through yet. But as you can also see down here, the remaining balance, if all proposals would pass, which is not possible, would be minus 1,500 dash. So in other words, the Treasury system is 1,500 dash oversubscribed. There are people that are asking for 1,500 dash more than the budget limit will allow. And so not everybody's proposal is going to pass, including potentially my own. But there are, like I said, some scenarios where depending on priorities, people's priorities, like do you want to prioritize development? Do you want to prioritize marketing? What do you want to prioritize? I think all the MNOs, they would like to be able to fund things, right? But it's all about budget constraints and priorities. So I just wanted to sketch out. So here's a little spreadsheet. It shows the active proposals and 3 different scenarios in these A, B, and C columns, where if you check a box, it will update this sum. This is the amount of dash that's available left in the scenario. So in other words, less than a positive number here would be there would be 1.2 dash remaining in this scenario, based on the existing budget. So I just always kind of assume that everything that DCG proposes is going to pass. I've rearranged these, by the way. This isn't in the order of the votes right now. This is just kind of collected amongst groups. So here you have this. This is the DCG block. Kitty Whiskers Van Gogh is part of DCG, so he has his own separate proposal that's requesting 200, for example. I just assume that everything DCG proposes is going to pass. So that's just my assumption. It doesn't have to be that way, but that's how it's been in the past. So I just assume that's a constraint. These are some proposals that are relatively high in the list. And then again, I've reordered these to be DFO specific. So here's all of your proposals, Mikhail Shennik. Here's my proposal. Vijay, here's your proposal. Anthony, here's your proposal. I just put those together just for simplicity. Here's the desert links. No, Joel, I didn't put you down at the bottom because I don't like what you're doing. In fact, I love what you're doing, especially with the dash growth stuff. It's just, again, collecting these together. However, I will say I am personally, we don't have an option where everybody can have what they want again. And being a somebody who's focused on development and actual utility. Whether or not the market likes that, that is my focus. We want actual utility. And so I'm naturally going to be more developer focused. So I'll start with this scenario right here, this A scenario, where DCG is getting all their proposals passed. Mikhail, 2 of your proposals are passing in this scenario. My proposal's going to be passing in each of these scenarios that I'm interested in, obviously, because I'm self-interested. But there's obviously scenarios where, my proposal doesn't pass, and then that leaves room for other proposals, for example. So this is a scenario basically that assumes that everything Joel has proposed is also going to pass, other than this iOS supplemental proposal, which hasn't passed ever. So I'm assuming that that's not going to pass as well. And so these are both just kind of like dead proposals that that aren't going to pass. But these are all active proposals that the proposal owner is kind of gunning for. You have Dash Growth's main proposal, 530 Dash, and then you have a war chest proposal, and then this market across PR proposal, and then this is just a 1 Dash confidential transactions decision proposal. So that's not very meaningful, but I just leave that checked. So this is the scenario basically where Dash Growth gets all of their proposals passed, and then what's left is, we have difficult decisions about, well, either these 2 proposals can't pass, or if mine doesn't pass and these pass, you can just kind of see what's available. And yeah, there's just different ways to look at all this, but I'll go ahead and skip through to what I think is, I'll skip ahead to scenario B. DCG is still getting everything they're asking for. You'll notice, I haven't checked Dash Money's proposal in any of these. That's not necessarily because I don't like what he's doing, but I just don't know. I don't exactly know what hidden from the learned and clever is supposed to mean necessarily. I've read the proposal. It seems like a lot of higher level stuff that I personally am not prioritizing, but again, that's up to the network. And this is a scenario where the market across proposal would not get funded yet, but I guess my pitch here is that there is a scenario where all DCG's proposals get funded, all of Mikhail's proposals get funded, my proposal gets funded. In this scenario, the auto show, AJC, yours, Anthony, would not get funded. But the main thing here is this marketing push, the market across stuff. I just don't think we're ready for it. Like I do agree that it's something that we could try, but when it's compared against the importance of getting an SDK out that's working and functional and a joy to use for developers, I think that should take priority over the marketing of that thing. So I do see a scenario where it's detrimental to us as a network if we push a marketing proposal and give a bunch of money to a third-party marketing agency, not Joel, because I would be happy. I'd be more than happy to send money to Joel, but a third-party marketing PR company, I don't think that's the priority for me right now. And there is a scenario where we can get most of the SDK stuff funded. And then the marketing stuff it's a 4-month proposal, as you can see here. So if that comes later, I think this PR firm can wait until we have good developer tooling. And I think that Joel was hoping that, the marketing push would help increase the price of Dash. But I think we've done that before. We've tried to contract out to marketing firms to get price of Dash up. And it just hasn't happened as far as I can tell. And I don't expect it to happen. But again, it's not up to me. It's up to you guys. I'm just making my case for, I think that we should postpone, not necessarily reject, but just postpone the market across initiative until we have better developer tooling to be able to say, okay, not only are we marketing something, but we have something to market. And that,
have you considered partnering with Hawktua? That might get the price up.
yeah, I'm sure a lot of people have considered it. I never even really got into that stuff. I know.
This is thanks for putting all these scenarios together. This is very enlightening.
Yeah. And again, like I'm not trying to suggest that this is necessarily what people should vote on or what they shouldn't vote on, but I'm just saying I'm trying to give people an opportunity to make an informed decision. I personally think that the SDK work is the priority right now, so that we can do grassroots marketing with real applications and utility. And I think that we're pretty close. Like with what you're doing, Mikhail, and what Matt's doing, I think that there's a scenario where we can get that done relatively quickly, maybe 2 months, and then fund the evolution, the marketing war chest and the market across initiative in 2 months from now. That would be my preference. So yeah, but we'll see how it goes. The MNOs do their Tetris moving a lot in the last 3 days, and it's always exciting, I guess I'll say. So any last thoughts from you guys on after seeing just any last thoughts that you guys wanted to share after having that little discussion?
Yeah, it's pretty tough month. Going to be as well as the previous we were, but yeah, it's pretty cool. We have pretty much proposal. We have something about the SDK, which I really like how it's going, and yeah, I would like to just, I don't know, say some good things about it. Nothing much from my side.
Okay.
Or nothing more.
Yeah,
Get you to your stream, to your space.
Yeah, I'm gonna go jump on that. I do think that marketing is important, but I think it should be grassroots marketing. I think it should be that type of marketing, like with the Twitter Spaces. I'd actually like to do a lot more of that. Joel has said that he would be happy to give me the Dash Community Twitter account to play around with and try to get some more discussion from Web 2, Web 3 kind of things, and TradFi versus DeFi kind of things. So I'm hoping that will still work out. Vijay, welcome back. Any final remarks from you?
Yeah, I hope that I'll get some support this time. Only got 1 month of money, and then you have helped me, and I'm thankful for that.
Yep. Yeah, and like I said, if by chance your proposal doesn't pass, but mine does, I'm happy to send you that 50 Dash your way as well. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next Incubator Weekly or on the Space or whatever in the Discord. Bye everybody.
Yep. Bye.